Because once you bring emotions into it, and we heard it earlier, the storytelling, that emotional response, then you start getting really resonance. What kind of emotions could you work with? Sadness works very well, I believe, in the charity sector. When you get this idea of actually, I feel so sad, I want to do something about this. Anger and frustration is a big one. Something that you can leverage someone else's frustration, where you build that story with them that Tim Sanders was talking about, and you kind of say, do you know what really annoys me? Does this really annoy you? I've got something that can solve that. Brilliant if you can get that going. Fear is not one I'd necessarily recommend that you do a long time, but it can be a very powerful motivator. I'm involved with a number of events that are around GDPR. If any of you have heard about that, I'm sure if you haven't, you might in the future. But what's really interesting is that GDPR is often pitched as this thing to protect data privacy. But you can bet your bottom dollar that the most people going to GDPR events are not going because they're so involved in data privacy. They're going because they're fearful of the fines that might hit them if they don't do it right. So fear can be an incredibly important motivator, not one that you maybe want to be generating all the time for the benefit of your own health, but well to be used in the right places. Greed, where you want someone to do something because they can just get that opportunity, buy it now, win with me, this is what we can do together. Guilt, maybe something you should have been doing all along, but maybe you haven't actually done it yet. That's something to actually be able to motivate people into doing something. I remember one of the best stories I've ever heard was actually from, and the one that still stays with me, was from a group of students in Sligo. They were involved in a Microsoft student development competition, and they had built a piece of software that ran on a phone that you could carry in your car that told you if you drove dangerously. So it was going to, with the accelerometer, they were actually measuring the brake speed and the braking, and if it was too sudden, or your speed at a given point in time. And they told the story by leveraging a lot about the number of road deaths that happened in Ireland. One of them had known someone who had died in a road accident because of dangerous driving. They extrapolated that to how many people die in the world each year. And by the end of this, if you weren't nearly crying, you were trying to throw money at them. It was kind of like, if you have something that can stop this, we want to help you. And that always resonates me as being one of the most powerful stories, told by a group of students who just got good at telling that story. They went on to win the competition from 250,000 students worldwide and got funded, and their startup is still going today, actually, over in Silicon Valley. But it's not always. If you're lucky, you're building something that saves lives. If you're lucky, you can get that tearjerker effect. If you're lucky, you're changing lives in some way, and many people are, actually, in many different ways. But it doesn't always have to be that. Because sometimes it's just about being a little bit, leveraging that frustration or leveraging that annoyance